Steve. I'm doing great. It's so great to be back with you again.
Well, it's my pleasure. And the last time we talked, it was in anticipation of you officially announcing that you were going to seek the seat. You had already left your radio job, and you were all but officially announcing. And now you've done that. I got to tell you, how do you think the media has treated you? You know, the media has had a funny relationship with John McCain. They love him. They loved him. Of course, he played into that, and I think that's one of the problems with John McCain, that he wanted to be loved by the media. Then when he ran against Obama, how dare he? They did everything, except blatantly call him a racist for no reason. He got really ticked. But now he's back in the lovey-dovey mode, and I think they're coming after you for everything that they could possibly come up with. Are you finding that? Because that's the coverage I'm seeing.
Well, there is always going to be that coverage, and I think there's no doubt that all of the Washington establishment, including the media, for whatever reason, political favors or sentimentality or whatever, they're going to line up behind John McCain. That's fine. Let John keep the Washington establishment, including the Washington press corps. I'll just take the legions of Arizona conservative voters, and that will mean a victory not only in the primary on August 24th, but a victory in the general election in November. So, look, I can't quibble. I think there's been a lot of curiosity about our campaign, and one thing about the press coverage, good, bad, or indifferent, at least everyone is mentioning our website, jd4senate.com. That's JDFOR Senate.com. And the donations have increased exponentially. So I can't complain. What was the old joke about? As long as they spell your name right.
Yes.
Since my name is JD, that's not too tough to spell.
Yeah, any publicity is good publicity as long as they spell your name right. I think that's the expression.
Sure. And let's face it, John, even in his presidential campaign in 2000, where I ardently supported him. He used to joke, he'd say the media was, quote, my base, end quote, and we all laughed because we knew how true it was. So I have no doubt that a lot of the Potomac Press Corps and National Press Corps are going to be very sympathetic to John, but there's a whole lot people need to understand.
All right, do you think – I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't want to interrupt you, but I wanted to ask if –
I just want to make this point. No one in any way ridicule. We all honor John McCain's service and sacrifice for our country. But after well over a quarter century in Washington, with all told 28 years in Washington, 4 years in the House, 24 years in the Senate, it's time for him to come home and be succeeded by a consistent conservative. And on a myriad of issues, it's obvious that John has legislated like a liberal, even though he's back home now trying to campaign as a conservative.
Well, that's the thing. Now he's getting tough. Now he's talking tough. Now he's criticizing the president. Now he's talking like a conservative because he's going to be in a tough primary battle against you. Let me ask you this. Does the dissatisfaction that CNN picked up in their poll yesterday, where just 34% of U.S. voters think that most members of Congress should be reelected, the lowest number for that question ever in a CNN poll, does that translate in the state of Arizona, especially among Republicans?
Oh, it absolutely does. And another poll taken by Rasmussen, I guess back in October, showed that 62% of likely Arizona Republican voters. Now think about this, 62% of Arizona Republicans said that John McCain did not reflect or share their basic conservative values. And so you see that. No wonder John, I think he's been getting some bad advice. His campaign has gotten very shrill and has been dealing in half-truths. And as we know, a half-truth is a full-out falsehood.
All right. He said that you've been very rude and very disrespectful to him in your campaigning and in your rhetoric. Is there any truth to that? Do you believe?
There's no truth to that because obviously on the radio, and I think you would understand this, Steve, as a broadcaster, on the radio we serve as a catalyst for conversation as well as a conduit for opinion, and we also serve at times as a provocateur to start discussions. And, of course, one of the big things we utilize is humor. And so sometimes we would do satirical sketches on the air that that were intended to never wound, but to simply just poke fun. That's part of radio. But now that I'm in a campaign, believe me, Dwight Eisenhower always said, take your job, but never yourself seriously. But I will tell you, I am absolutely serious about succeeding John McCain in the Senate, and so all that sophomoric satirical humor has been stowed in the audio vault, and now it's time to talk about the issues that concern Arizona.
We're talking to J.D. Hayworth. He's running for the U.S. Senate against John McCain. I want to ask you one thing here. You had a great line. Campbell Brown asked you, and I'm sure other people have asked you, well, Sarah Palin is supporting John McCain, and she's going to come there and campaign for him. How do you combat that? And you had you brought up another Sarah.
Well, yeah, that's absolutely right, Steve. Sure, we all respect Sarah Palin, and we understand the concept of gratitude in politics, and certainly political favors and repaying those. We understand that, and heck, I would even put this beyond politics to common courtesy. That in terms of gratitude. But here's the thing. With all due respect, it's not going to be Sarah Palin from Alaska. It's going to be Sarah Boyd from Scottsdale, Arizona, and thousands of conservative voters here in Arizona who will decide the next United States Senator. So we welcome down Sarah Palin. We're always pleased to have visitors to Arizona. And, if she'd like to hang around and do it, I'm sure we could accommodate her somewhere.
I got one more for you, JD. If you could campaign on just one difference between you and John McCain on one issue that you think would resonate most with the people of Arizona, would it be pending? It's always pending immigration reform.
Well, that is obviously a huge issue. John McCain supported amnesty and wrote the bill with the late Ted Kennedy. The Heritage Foundation told us that long-term, for retirement benefits alone, these illegals turned citizens would cost us as taxpayers $2.6 trillion. Certainly that's a huge issue. Certainly the bailout is a huge issue. John McCain, not only $700 billion for the big banks, but another $150 billion in earmarks. I choke on it because John says he's an opponent of earmarks. That's another problem. But Steve, let's make news this afternoon. Mary and I and our family have been talking about it, and no disrespect intended toward John, but it's obvious that he's just been in Washington too long and gotten too comfortable with the Washington establishment. It's time for him to come home, and in that spirit, I pledge to only serve 2 consecutive 6-year terms in the United States Senate, a total of 12 years. Then it will be my time to leave the Senate to be succeeded by another citizen. And that's the promise I'm making to Arizona voters. And I think, based in part on what we're seeing here, the actions of my friend John, it's just a case where we thank John for his service, but he stayed in Washington too long. It's time for him to come home and understand truly what's going on here in Arizona and what it's like to be an Arizona conservative instead of a moderate who calls himself a maverick.
All right, so there you have it, folks. The pledge from J.D. Hayworth to serve only 2 terms, and then that's it. Come on home himself, and then I guess get back behind the radio microphone. Hey, J.D., we'll be in touch often. Thank you, my friend, and good luck.
Steve, thank you so much.
And give the website again. Give the website again.
Yes. That's what I'm going to do right now. JD4Senate.com. JDFORSenate.com.
All right, J.D. Hayworth, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, sir.